The road to Emerald Lake Cabin was nothing more than a winding path of gravel and faded memories. Evelyn Montgomery gripped the steering wheel a little tighter, her breath shallow as towering pines blurred past her window. She had told herself this was just a visit, temporary, a detour, not a destination. But as the cabin came into view, weathered, forgotten, yet still standing strong, she knew. Some places don't let you go, and some ghosts don't rest just because you've been gone long enough. She wasn't just here to fix an old house. She was here to rebuild something she lost. But the past had a way of creeping back in when you least expected it, and so did the people you thought you had left behind. If you love stories about second chances, love that grows in unexpected places, and the quiet power of healing, this is just the beginning. Join me as we uncover the past, restore what was broken, and find out whether Evelyn and Noah's journey will lead to something neither of them saw coming. Hit subscribe and stay with me until the very last page, because sometimes the best stories are the ones we never expected to find. A struggling single dad repaired a cabin, unaware the woman who hired him was a secret billionaire. The late afternoon sun bathed the small woodworking shop in a golden hue, casting long shadows across the worn wooden floor. Noah Carter, a man in his mid-30s with broad shoulders and a weathered face, set down his hammer and wiped the sweat from his brow. His hands, strong, calloused and etched with the rough history of years of labor, were his greatest tools. Capable of shaping raw wood into objects of beauty and function, Noah had never been a wealthy man. He didn't drive a fancy car or wear expensive clothes. What he did have was a reputation. A man of honesty, integrity and skill, respected by the people of Willow Springs, a quiet town nestled in the rolling hills of Montana. But more than that, he had Lily, his 8-year-old daughter, his world. Outside, Lily's laughter rang through the air as she played with their loyal golden retriever Barney in the open field behind the shop. Her golden hair shimmered in the light, her bright blue eyes, so much like her mother's, full of life and innocence. Looking at her was always a bittersweet reminder. It had been 3 years since Rachel, his wife, passed away. The pain had dulled over time, but it never truly left. Some days he could almost hear her voice, feel her presence beside him. But life didn't stop, and neither did he. Just as Noah was about to close up for the evening, the shrill ring of the shop's old landline phone startled him. He wiped his dusty hands on his jeans before picking it up. Carter's Woodworks, Noah speaking. A woman's voice came through, smooth, refined, but carrying an undercurrent of something unspoken. "Mr. Carter, my name is Evelyn Montgomery. I need some work done on a cabin near Emerald Lake. Would you be available?" Noah hesitated. Emerald Lake was secluded, miles from town. The few properties out there were usually summer homes for the wealthy, people he rarely interacted with. He wasn't particularly fond of clients who expected him to bend over backward for them just because they had deep pockets. "What kind of work are you needing?" he asked. "A full restoration," she replied. "The place has been abandoned for years. I need someone reliable." Her voice was steady, but something about it struck him as odd. He couldn't quite put his finger on it. Was it uncertainty? A trace of sadness, Noah sighed, glancing out the window at Lily, who was now twirling in circles with Barney, her laughter filling the cool evening air. He needed the job. Winter was approaching and extra money would help with school supplies, repairs around the house, and maybe, just maybe, a Christmas trip for Lily. "I can come by tomorrow morning to take a look," he finally said. "That would be perfect. Thank you, Mr. Carter." The line went dead. Noah stared at the receiver for a moment before placing it back on the hook. Something about that conversation felt different. He'd worked for all kinds of clients before, wealthy ranchers, vacation homeowners, even the occasional big city businessman. But Evelyn Montgomery, there was something about the way she spoke, like she was holding something back. The road to Emerald Lake wound through dense pine forests, the scent of damp earth and evergreen filling the crisp autumn air. Noah's old hood truck bounced over the uneven dirt path, his toolbox rattling in the back seat. As he approached the property, the cabin came into view, a large, weathered structure, its once proud log walls dulled by years of neglect. The porch sagged, the windows were streaked with grime, and the roof had clearly seen better days. Standing at the front steps was Evelyn Montgomery. She wasn't what he expected. Noah had envisioned an older woman, someone with perfectly styled hair and an air of superiority. Instead, the woman in front of him looked to be in her early 30s, dressed simply in jeans and a sweater, her chestnut brown hair tied into a loose ponytail. But what struck him the most was her eyes, deep green, guarded like someone who had seen too much, felt too much. She extended a hand. "You must be Noah." He hesitated, then shook it. Her grip was firm, but not forced. "Nice place," he said dryly, eyeing the cabin. Evelyn let out a quiet laugh. "It has potential." Noah took in the surroundings, the lake shimmering just beyond the trees, the crisp mountain air carrying a sense of stillness he hadn't felt in a long time. "So," he said, getting straight to business, "what's the story here? You buy this place recently?" Evelyn's expression flickered, just for a second, but Noah caught it, a moment of hesitation. "No," she said finally. "It's been in my family for years. I just haven't been back in a long time." He didn't press. He wasn't the kind of man to pry into other people's lives. Instead, he focused on the job. "Well, I'll need to assess everything. There's some serious rot in the porch beams. The windows need replacing, and if the roof's anything like the rest of this place, it's going to be a mess." Evelyn nodded, her arms crossed. "I trust your judgment." For a brief moment their eyes met, two strangers standing in front of a forgotten cabin, each carrying the weight of something unspoken. Noah didn't know it yet, but this job, this woman, was about to change his life in ways he never could have imagined. And maybe, just maybe, he was about to change hers too. Noah Carter had worked with all kinds of clients before, those who cared deeply about their homes, those who micromanaged his every move, and those who threw money at a problem just to make it go away. Evelyn Montgomery didn't fit neatly into any of those categories. As he walked around the exterior of the weathered log cabin, taking mental notes of the structural issues, he could feel her gaze on him. She wasn't intrusive, but she was observant, like someone used to analyzing people, trying to figure out their intentions before revealing too much of her own. He was doing the same to her. "The foundation seems solid," Noah said, squatting down near the base of the porch steps. He ran his fingers along the wood, feeling the soft, crumbling edges. "But this porch will need to be completely rebuilt. The beams are rotted all the way through." Evelyn stood a few feet away, arms crossed. "I assumed as much." Noah glanced up at her. "How long has it been since anyone lived here?" Her expression barely flickered, but it was enough for him to notice. "A while. Vague. Guarded." He nodded and stood, brushing sawdust and dirt from his hands. "And the roof?" she sighed. "Let's just say it leaks. A lot." "Then that'll be priority number 2, he said, making notes in his worn leather notebook. "I'll also need to check the electrical and plumbing. If the house has been sitting for years, those systems might be shot." Evelyn hesitated. "Right, that makes sense." Noah narrowed his eyes slightly. Most homeowners, even the clueless ones, knew the basics of home maintenance. But something about her reaction told him that she wasn't used to thinking about these things. Who exactly was Evelyn Montgomery? Stepping inside, Noah was met with the scent of dust and aged wood. The interior was dim, with only slivers of morning light cutting through the grime-streaked windows. The space had potential: vaulted ceilings with exposed beams, a stone fireplace that could be stunning with the right restoration, and an open floor plan that gave the place a warm, inviting feel despite its current state of disrepair. But there were also signs that this wasn't just a forgotten vacation home. The furniture was still here, dust-covered but intact. The bookshelves in the corner held old, well-worn novels. A faded blanket was draped over the back of the couch, as if someone had once curled up there, expecting to return. Noah ran his fingers along a nearby side table, wiping away a thin layer of dust. "This place wasn't abandoned, was it?" Evelyn was silent for a moment before finally answering. "No," she admitted. "It belonged to my parents." Noah studied her face, but she didn't offer more. He simply nodded. "I'll do my best to bring it back to life." Evelyn looked at him then, really looked at him. And for the first time, there was something in her gaze beyond the guarded politeness. Gratitude, vulnerability, maybe even trust. They spent the rest of the morning going through the cabin, Noah pointing out the repairs that needed to be done, Evelyn listening intently. She wasn't the type to complain about costs or deadlines, which surprised him. She didn't act like someone who came from wealth. "Do you work alone?" she asked as they stepped back outside. "For the most part," Noah said, tossing his notebook onto the hood of his truck. "Sometimes I bring in extra hands if a job's too big." Evelyn nodded thoughtfully. "And how long have you lived in Willow Springs?" "All my life." She glanced toward the lake, her expression unreadable. "Must be nice, having roots in one place." Noah followed her gaze. The lake stretched out before them, still and reflective beneath the autumn sky. It was peaceful here. He understood why she had come back. "It has its ups and downs," he admitted. "Small towns don't let you forget things easily." She turned to him, eyes filled with curiosity. "Is that a good thing or a bad thing?" He hesitated. "Depends on what you're trying to forget." For a moment there was silence between them, a conversation unspoken. Then Evelyn shifted slightly. "I should probably let you get started. How soon do you think you can begin?" Noah exhaled, rolling his shoulders. "I can start tomorrow, first thing." She smiled then, a small, tentative smile, but real nonetheless. "Thank you, Noah." And for reasons he didn't quite understand, those words settled something inside him. Noah sat on the front porch of his own home that night, a cold beer in one hand, as he watched Lily chase Barney across the yard. The sky was painted in deep purples and oranges, the crisp Montana air carrying the scent of pine and distant campfires. His mind drifted back to the cabin, to Evelyn Montgomery. There was something about her that didn't add up. She had money. He could tell by the way she carried herself, even in her simple clothes. But she wasn't arrogant, wasn't out of touch. And the way she had looked at that cabin, it wasn't just property to her. It was personal. He took a sip of his beer, his gaze unfocused. He wasn't sure why he cared. He had taken this job because he needed the money, plain and simple. His life was simple. Work, provide for Lily, keep moving forward. And yet, somewhere, deep down, he knew Evelyn Montgomery wasn't just another client. She was a woman with secrets, and something told him that before this job was finished, he was going to find out exactly what they were. Noah Carter arrived at Emerald Lake Cabin just as the morning fog was lifting off the water. The sky was painted in soft hues of pink and gold, and the lake stretched out before him like a sheet of glass. Undisturbed, silent, a mirror reflecting a past that Evelyn Montgomery clearly wasn't ready to face. The previous day's conversation had left him with more questions than answers. Why had she stayed away from the cabin for so long? What had driven her? To return now? Noah wasn't the type to pry, but he knew when someone was running from something, and Evelyn Montgomery. She was definitely running. Noah pushed those thoughts aside and got to work. The first order of business was the porch. Its beams were too rotted to salvage, and if left untouched, it could collapse at any moment. He measured, cut, and replaced the worst of the damage, his hands moving with practiced efficiency. Just as he was securing the last plank, he heard a voice behind him. "You're here early." Noah turned to see Evelyn standing on the cabin's worn stone steps, a coffee mug in hand. The morning light caught the strands of her dark brown hair, making them shimmer like chestnut. She looked different today, less guarded, more present. "Best way to get things done," Noah replied simply, wiping the sweat from his brow. Evelyn sipped her coffee, her gaze drifting toward the porch. "I forgot how much I loved this place," she admitted quietly. "When I was little, I used to sit out here with my mom and watch the sunrise over the lake." Noah studied her for a moment. There it was again, the weight in her voice, the unspoken memories pressing against her words. "Sounds like a good memory," he said. She nodded, but her smile was tinged with sadness. It was. Noah didn't push for more. Some ghosts weren't ready to be spoken of yet. After finishing up the porch repairs, Noah moved inside to inspect the electrical and plumbing. The wiring was outdated but intact, and the plumbing, though rusty, seemed salvageable. It was clear this place had once been loved. Evelyn followed him as he worked, her fingers grazing the tops of old furniture, stirring up dust and old memories. "This place feels frozen in time," she murmured. Noah glanced at her. "Most places do when they're left behind." She exhaled slowly. "I never meant to leave it for so long." Something in her voice made Noah pause. "You didn't have a choice?" he asked carefully. Evelyn's jaw tightened slightly. "No, I didn't." Noah didn't press further. Whatever had kept her away from this cabin wasn't just distance, it was something deeper, something painful. As they walked through the cabin, Evelyn stopped in front of the fireplace. Her fingers traced the rough stone surface, her expression unreadable. "My father built this fireplace himself," she said. "He used to tell me that as long as it was warm, this house would always be a home." Noah leaned against the railing. "And was it?" She hesitated, then answered, "For a while." Silence stretched between them, filled only by the soft creaking of the wooden floorboards beneath their feet. Then, almost as if she needed to get it off her chest, she added, "After he died, everything changed." Noah had suspected as much. He'd seen it before, grief turning homes into hollow shells, memories into burdens. "I'm sorry," he said, and he meant it. Evelyn nodded, but didn't say anything more. And Noah didn't ask. Some wounds weren't meant to be reopened all at once. By midday, Noah had done what he could for the morning, and the two of them found themselves sitting on the newly reinforced porch, eating simple sandwiches in the cool autumn breeze. Lily had packed an extra sandwich for the lady at the cabin, and Noah had brought it with him. He handed it over without a word, and to his surprise, Evelyn looked genuinely touched. "You told her about me?" she asked. "She's 8, Noah said. "She asks about everything," Evelyn chuckled softly. "She sounds wonderful." "She is," Noah said. And for the first time since he had met her, Evelyn saw something in his expression, a softness, a warmth that had nothing to do with her and everything to do with the little girl waiting for him at home. "You must be a great father," she said. Noah shook his head slightly. "I try. Some days I don't know if I'm doing it right, but I love her more than anything, so I figure that's got to count for something." Evelyn smiled. "It does." As the afternoon wore on, the sky darkened, and a chill settled over the lake. Noah recognized the signs. A storm was rolling in. "You should probably head back soon," Evelyn noted, glancing at the gathering clouds. Noah packed up his tools. "Yeah, looks like we're in for a rough one." Just as he was about to leave, Evelyn hesitated. Noah? He turned back. She looked like she wanted to say something important, but in the end she just shook her head and smiled. Be careful on the road. Noah held her gaze for a second longer than necessary, then nodded, and as he drove away from Emerald Lake Cabin, he couldn't shake the feeling that whatever Evelyn Montgomery was hiding, it wasn't just about the house. It was about her, and sooner or later, he was going to find out exactly what it was. The storm came faster than expected. Noah Carter had barely driven a mile from Emerald Lake Cabin when the sky turned black, heavy clouds rolling in like waves crashing against the mountains. The wind howled through the trees, and the first drops of rain splattered against his windshield, turning into a torrential downpour within minutes. His truck's old windshield wipers struggled against the deluge, barely clearing his view of the twisting mountain road. "Damn it," he muttered, gripping the steering wheel tighter. He had driven through plenty of Montana storms before, but something about this one felt different, unsettling, like a warning he didn't yet understand. Then his phone buzzed on the passenger seat. He glanced at the screen. Evelyn Montgomery, A strange sense of urgency shot through him as he hit the answer button. "Noah," her voice was sharp, breathless. "You need to turn around." He frowned. "What? Evelyn, what's going on?" "The bridge," she started, but the rest of her sentence was swallowed by a sudden crack of thunder. Noah barely had time to process her words before he saw it. The wooden bridge at the base of the hill, now half collapsed into the rushing river below. His foot slammed on the brakes, tires skidding on the slick road. The truck jerked to a stop just feet from the broken bridge, where water raged violently beneath it. The once sturdy planks had been ripped away by the storm, leaving a gaping void where the road had been. Noah exhaled sharply. If he had driven just a few seconds faster, he didn't finish the thought. His phone crackled with Evelyn's voice. "Noah, are you there?" He took a steadying breath. "Yeah, I see it." A pause. Then, softer. "Thank God." Noah ran a hand through his rain-dampened hair, adrenaline still buzzing through his veins. "How did you know?" Another pause. I had a feeling. Noah's gut told him there was more to it than that, but now wasn't the time to question it. I'm coming back," he said. "Be careful." The call ended, and with no other option, Noah turned his truck around and headed back up the winding road, back to Evelyn. By the time Noah pulled into the driveway of the Emerald Lake Cabin, the rain was coming down in sheets, drumming against the truck's roof like a relentless symphony. Evelyn was waiting for him on the covered porch, wrapped in a thick sweater, arms crossed tightly over her chest. Despite the storm raging around them, her face held an unreadable expression. Relief, worry, something deeper. Noah slammed the truck door shut and jogged toward the porch. "The bridge is completely gone." Evelyn nodded, barely audible over. "The wind. I was afraid of that." He gave her a sharp look. "Evelyn, how the hell did you know?" She hesitated, then looked away. "I used to come here every summer. I know how bad the storms can get. The bridge was already weak. I had a feeling it wouldn't hold." There it was again, that guardedness, that unspoken truth hanging between them. Noah wanted to push, but before he could, a shiver ran through his body. He hadn't realized how soaked he was until now. His flannel clung to him, boots tracking mud onto the porch. "You're drenched," Evelyn said, frowning. "Come inside before you freeze." Noah wasn't about to argue. Inside, the cabin was warm, the crackling fire casting flickering shadows against the log walls. The scent of wood smoke and something faintly sweet, tea maybe, filled the air. Evelyn disappeared into a back room and returned with a towel and a dry flannel shirt. "Here," Noah raised an eyebrow. "You keep men's clothes lying around?" A ghost of a smile touched her lips. "They were my father's." Something about that answer settled inside him. a quiet truth shared in the simplest of ways. He took the towel and rubbed it over his damp hair before pulling off his soaked shirt and replacing it with the one she offered. It was a little too big, but warm and comfortable. When he glanced up, he caught Evelyn watching him, not in an obvious way, but in the way someone studies something they don't fully understand but want to. "You okay?" he asked. Evelyn blinked as if breaking out of a trance. "Yeah, I haven't had company in a long time." There was something almost melancholic in the way she said it. Noah hesitated, then took a seat by the fire. "Well, looks like you're stuck with me for the night," Evelyn gave a quiet laugh. "I guess I am." As the storm raged on outside, they found themselves talking, not about the cabin, not about the repairs, but about life. Noah told her about Lily, how she was the reason he got up every morning, how he worried every day that he wasn't doing enough for her, and Evelyn in turn let slip little pieces of herself, how she used to spend summers here with her father, how this cabin had once been a place of happiness before it became something else. Noah could see it now. This cabin wasn't just a house to her. It was a memory frozen in time, a life she had lost and didn't know how to reclaim. At some point the fire burned lower and silence settled between them, not uncomfortable, but heavy with understanding. Evelyn yawned, exhaustion finally catching up with her. "I should get some sleep." Noah nodded. "I'll crash on the couch." She hesitated. "You don't have to." "I do." He gave her a small smirk. "Wouldn't want you to kick me out in the storm." That earned him a quiet chuckle. "Good night, Noah." He watched as she disappeared down the hall, leaving him alone with the crackling embers and the quiet realization that he was getting too involved, too invested in a woman with secrets. And yet, as the storm raged outside, he didn't want to be anywhere else. The storm had passed, but the silence it left behind was deafening. Noah Carter woke to the soft crackling of dying embers, the warmth of the fire barely lingering in the cabin's dimly lit living room. His back ached from the rigid old couch, but he'd had worse. Outside, the lake was still, reflecting the golden hues of early morning, the trees standing tall like silent sentinels watching over the cabin. Everything looked calm, almost untouched, but Noah knew better. Something had shifted last night. It wasn't just about the storm, it was about Evelyn. She had let him in, even if just a little. He had seen the way her expression softened when she spoke of her father, the way her gaze lingered on the cabin, like it held memories too heavy to carry alone. And now, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was becoming a part of something. He hadn't intended to. Noah stretched, rolling out his shoulders, and stood. The cabin was quiet, save for the faint clinking of dishes from the kitchen. He followed the sound, finding Evelyn at the stove, her back to him, pouring steaming coffee into 2 mugs. The smell of fresh coffee and something warm, pancakes, filled the air. She turned slightly, noticing him. "You're up early." Noah rubbed the sleep from his face. Force of habit. Evelyn slid a mug across the counter toward him. "Figured I owed you breakfast after you nearly drove off a collapsed bridge last night." Noah smirked, taking a sip. Strong. No sugar. Just how he liked it. "You always cook for stranded carpenters, or am I special?" Evelyn chuckled softly. "Let's just say I don't usually have company." Noah leaned against the counter, watching her carefully. "You ever think about selling this place?" The question caught her off guard. He could see it in the way her hands tensed slightly around the pan handle before she composed herself. "No," she said after a moment. "It's the only thing I have left of my family." Noah didn't miss the weight in those words. "You mean of your father?" he asked. Evelyn hesitated, then nodded. Yeah, it was a lie. Noah wasn't sure how he knew, but he did. There was more to it than that, and for some reason he wanted to know what. After breakfast, Noah went straight to work, focusing on the damaged roof before the next storm could undo all his progress. The sun burned off the morning chill, and the rhythmic pounding of his hammer filled the otherwise quiet landscape. He liked this part, the simplicity of fixing something broken, of making it whole again. But every time he caught a glimpse of Evelyn watching from the porch, lost in thought, he was reminded that some things weren't so easily fixed. By noon, he took a break, stepping off the ladder and wiping the sweat from his brow. Evelyn was still there, her gaze drifting over the lake, lost in whatever memories haunted her. Noah walked over, leaning against the porch railing beside her. "You gonna tell me what really brought you back here?" he asked. She exhaled, staring. "Straight ahead. I already told you." "No," Noah said simply. "You told me what you wanted me to hear." Silence. Then, so soft he almost missed it, "My mother died here." Noah turned to her, stunned. He hadn't expected that. Evelyn's grip on the railing tightened. "It was years ago. I was young. But I never came back after that. I couldn't." Noah stayed quiet, giving her the space to continue if she wanted to. "She and my father were arguing that night," Evelyn murmured. "I don't even remember what it was about anymore. I just remember the shouting. And then she ran outside." Noah's stomach clenched. "Evelyn!" She slipped. Evelyn cut in, her voice distant. "The dock was wet from the rain. 1 second she was there, and the next." Noah felt the weight of her words settle between them. "I ran to get my father, but by the time we pulled her out, it was too late," she whispered. She was gone. Noah swallowed hard. He hadn't expected this. "I blamed myself," Evelyn admitted, her voice barely audible now. "And I think my father did too. He never said it, but after that night he was never the same. This cabin, this place, it became a graveyard for what we lost." She turned to face him then, her eyes searching his, like she was expecting judgment. But Noah didn't give her any. Instead, he said the only thing that felt right. "You were a kid." Evelyn let out a shaky breath, and for the first time since he met her, she looked small, lost. "I don't know why I'm telling you this," she admitted. "Maybe because you need to," Noah said simply, a beat of silence. Then Evelyn gave a short, humorless laugh. "You always this good at getting people to open up?" Noah smirked. "Only when they're bad at lying." That earned him a real laugh. Soft, but real. And just like that, something shifted between them. The distance she had kept so carefully was cracking, revealing something deeper underneath. And Noah? He wasn't sure what it was, but he knew one thing. He wasn't just fixing a cabin anymore. He was helping Evelyn Montgomery piece together a part of herself she had buried long ago. The day after Evelyn Montgomery revealed her past, the air felt different, not tense, not awkward, but something had shifted between them. Noah Carter wasn't the type to dwell on things that weren't his business, but Evelyn's confession still lingered in the back of his mind as he worked on the cabin's repairs. She had carried that pain for years, the guilt, the grief, the unspoken weight of feeling responsible for something she had no control over. And now she was back in the place where it all happened, trying to rebuild something she wasn't sure she even wanted. Noah understood that more than she probably realized, because he knew what it was like to hold on to something that hurt. Noah arrived at Emerald Lake Cabin early, as always. The sky was a soft shade of blue, the lake mirroring it with perfect stillness. The storm had passed, leaving the scent of damp pine in the crisp air. Evelyn was already outside, sitting on the edge of the porch, with a cup of coffee in her hands, staring at the water. Noah hesitated for half a second before stepping forward. "You're up early." She glanced at him, a small smile ghosting across her lips. "Didn't sleep much." He wasn't surprised. "Thinking about the cabin?" he asked, though they both knew that wasn't really the question. She let out a quiet breath, nodding. "I thought coming back here would help, that maybe if I stood in the same place, breathed the same air, I don't know, find some kind of closure." Noah sat down beside her, stretching his legs out over the worn wooden boards. "And?" Evelyn gave a humorless chuckle. Turns out, grief doesn't work like that. Noah didn't respond right away. Instead, he let the sounds of the lake fill the silence between them. He knew better than most that some wounds didn't heal just because you wanted them to. Finally, he said, "You ever think about selling it?" Evelyn exhaled sharply. "I should, right? That would be the logical thing to do." But she stared at the water as if the answer were somewhere in the reflection of the trees. "But it still feels like home. Or maybe like it should be home." Noah nodded, understanding more than he let on, because that was the thing about grief. It didn't just take things from you, it also left you with pieces you didn't know what to do with. By mid-morning, Noah had moved to the interior repairs, focusing on the kitchen and the old wooden floors. Evelyn stuck around, watching as he worked, occasionally handing him tools or asking about different parts of the renovation process. And somehow, the conversation flowed easier than before. "Where'd you learn all this?" Evelyn asked, watching. "Him sand down a rough patch of flooring, my old man," Noah answered, not looking up. "He was a carpenter, not the best father, but he knew how to build things that lasted." Evelyn leaned against the counter, intrigued. "Not the best father," Noah shrugged. "He was tough. Never let you forget when you messed up, but he taught me how to work with my hands, and that's something." Evelyn studied him. "And your mum?" "She left when I was young." He said it matter-of-factly, as if it was just another fact about his life. "Never saw her again." Evelyn's heart clenched at the casual way he said it, like he had long since accepted it as part of his reality, but she could see it. The way his hands tightened slightly around his work, the way his shoulders held a tension he probably didn't even realize was there, and for the first time, she realized that Noah Carter wasn't just a man who fixed things. He was a man who had learned how to survive brokenness. The afternoon had settled into a comfortable rhythm, Noah working, Evelyn lingering nearby, the easy cadence of conversation filling the space, until the unexpected sound of tires on gravel broke the quiet. Evelyn frowned, stepping onto the porch. "Are you expecting someone?" Noah wiped his hands on a rag. "Not unless Barney figured out how to drive." A moment later, a sleek black SUV rolled to a stop at the base of the driveway. Evelyn's entire body tensed. Noah saw it instantly, the way her fingers curled into fists at her sides, the way her breath hitched just slightly. The driver's door opened, and a tall man in a tailored navy suit stepped out. Noah didn't need to know much about him to recognize what he was. A man who lived in a different world than the one Noah did. The man adjusted his cufflinks, glancing up at the cabin, with an expression caught somewhere between curiosity and disapproval. Then his eyes landed on Evelyn, and Noah knew, whoever this man was, he wasn't just anyone. Evelyn's voice was tight when she finally spoke. "James, what are you doing here?" James. The name alone told Noah everything he needed to know. Evelyn hadn't just left behind memories when she came here. She had left behind people. James took a step forward, glancing at Noah for only a second before dismissing him entirely. His focus was on Evelyn, his expression unreadable. "I came to bring you home," he said simply. Home. The word felt like a gut punch, even to Noah, because he realized something then. Evelyn hadn't come here just to fix an old cabin. She had come here to escape something, and whatever or whoever James was, he wasn't here to let her go. The air grew thick with unspoken tension. Noah Carter didn't know much about James, but he didn't have to. Men like him were easy to read. Everything about James, from his polished shoes to his perfectly calculated expression, screamed money, control, and a world where power dictated everything, a world that Evelyn had clearly stepped away from. Noah wasn't sure why, but he hated the way James looked at her, like she was something to be reclaimed. Evelyn, for her part, remained frozen. In place, her hands curled into tight fists. She was angry, but Noah also saw something else, fear. James took another slow step forward. "Evelyn," he said smoothly, like he was talking to someone who had simply wandered too far from home. "I've been looking for you." Evelyn's shoulders went rigid. "I didn't ask to be found." Noah crossed his arms, watching the exchange carefully. James let out a soft chuckle, though there was no real humor in it. "You disappeared. You didn't return calls, emails, nothing. Did you really think you could just walk away?" Noah noticed the way Evelyn's jaw clenched. He had seen this before, people trying to escape a life that no longer fit them, only to be dragged back by those who refused to let go. "I didn't disappear," Evelyn said finally. "I left." James shook his head as if the distinction didn't matter. "And where exactly does running off to an abandoned cabin fit into your grand plan?" He gestured vaguely around them, his expression carefully composed, but sharp underneath. "This place, it's beneath you, Evelyn." Noah bristled at the words. He didn't care what kind of money James Montgomery came from. He had no right to belittle this place, or her. But before he could say anything, Evelyn's voice cut through the space between them. "I'm not coming back." James's smile faltered for the first time. "You don't mean that." Evelyn exhaled slowly, but there was no hesitation when she spoke. "Yes, James, I do." Noah saw the exact moment James realized he was losing control. His expression hardened, his posture shifted, and just like that, his concern turned into thinly veiled condescension. "This is about your mother, isn't it?" Evelyn stiffened. James pressed forward, sensing the crack in her defenses. "I know what this place represents," he continued, voice low, "and I know it haunts you, but running away isn't the answer." Noah saw the way Evelyn's fingers trembled, and before he even realized what he was doing, he stepped closer, a silent but unmistakable presence beside her. James's gaze flicked to him, finally acknowledging his existence. "And who exactly are you?" James asked, eyes narrowing. Noah held his ground. "Someone who doesn't appreciate strangers showing up uninvited." James let out a short laugh. "Ah, so you're the local handyman." Noah didn't blink. "Something like that?" James studied him for a moment, his expression unreadable before turning back to Evelyn. "You're really staying here? With him?" The way he said it, disdainful, dismissive, lit something hot in Noah's chest, but Evelyn's response was immediate. "This isn't about him. This is about me," she said. "I don't want to go back, James, not now, maybe not ever." James stared at her, something cold and calculating flickering behind his gaze. Then finally he exhaled sharply. "Fine. Stay here. But don't expect the world to wait for you." Without another word, he turned and walked back to his SUV. The tires kicked up gravel as he sped away, leaving nothing behind but silence and the weight of everything he had just said. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Noah watched as Evelyn folded her arms tightly around herself, her gaze locked on the empty driveway where James had been just moments ago. "You okay?" Noah finally asked, his voice quieter than before. Evelyn let out a slow breath. "That depends on your definition of okay." Noah leaned against the porch railing. "You want to tell me what that was about?" Evelyn hesitated, then sat down on the porch steps. "James is my brother." That caught Noah off guard. "Brother?" She nodded, rubbing her hands together as if trying to shake off the encounter. "We used to be close before my mother died, before my father shut down. James took over the family business, real estate, investments, the whole thing. And I walked away from it." Noah frowned. "Why?" Evelyn let out a soft laugh, but it held no warmth. "Because the life he wanted for me wasn't the one I wanted for myself." Noah understood that better than she probably realized. "He's not Gonna let this go, Noah said after a beat. Evelyn's lips pressed into a thin line. Oh no! She turned toward him then, and for the first time he saw something else in her expression. Not just frustration, not just defiance. Fear. Noah wasn't the kind of man who got involved in other people's messes, but looking at Evelyn, now, the way she sat, small but unyielding, in front of the only home she had ever really known, something inside him settled, and without fully thinking it through, he said, "You don't have to do this alone." Evelyn blinked, looking at him like she wasn't sure she had heard him right. Noah shrugged. "I mean it." She held his gaze for a long moment, and then, slowly, carefully, she nodded. And just like that, the weight didn't feel quite as heavy anymore. Not for her, and not for him. Evelyn Montgomery knew James wouldn't give up easily. She had spent years underestimating his persistence, convincing herself that if she disappeared long enough, he would let her go. But now that he had found her, she could feel the invisible, chains tightening around her again. Noah had seen the way her hands shook after James left, the way she had wrapped her arms around herself like she was holding something, everything together. He didn't ask questions, didn't push her to talk, but he stayed, and somehow that mattered more than words. Noah kept himself busy that afternoon, working on the roof repairs, while Evelyn stayed inside, lost in thought. The sound of hammers and saws filled the quiet space between them, and for a while it was enough. But by the time the sun began to dip below the trees, Evelyn finally emerged from the cabin, her face set with quiet determination. "I need to go into town," she said. Noah paused, wiping sweat from his brow. "For what?" Evelyn hesitated for only a second before answering. "To tie up loose ends." Noah studied her, recognizing the undercurrent of tension in her words. "James is going to come back," he said plainly. Evelyn nodded. "I know." Noah exhaled slowly. "You sure you want to face this alone?" Evelyn met his gaze, something steadfast and unyielding in her expression. "I've been running for years, Noah. It's time I stop." Noah didn't argue. Instead, he grabbed his keys from the workbench and said, "I'll drive." Evelyn blinked. "You don't have to, No," Noah interrupted, holding her gaze, "but I want to." And just like that, the fight she thought she had to face alone didn't feel quite so impossible anymore. The drive to Willow Springs was quiet, but not uncomfortable. Evelyn watched the trees blur past, her thoughts tangled in the weight of what awaited her. James would have left breadcrumbs, a trail designed to lead her back to him, and the worst part? A part of her had always expected this moment. She wasn't naive. She had known that stepping back into this town, this cabin, this life, would eventually lead her back to the world she had tried so hard to escape. But now that it was happening, she realized she wasn't the same person who had left. Their first stop was the local bank, a small brick building that had probably been here longer than half the town. Evelyn squared her shoulders, preparing herself before stepping inside. Noah followed, keeping a few steps behind, not interfering, but present, and as soon as they walked in, Evelyn's suspicions were confirmed. James had been here. The bank manager, a man in his 50s with thin-rimmed glasses, stiffened slightly at the sight. "Of her, Miss Montgomery," he greeted, carefully polite. Evelyn didn't hesitate. "James was here, wasn't he?" A flicker of discomfort passed over the man's face. "He made inquiries about your assets." Noah tensed beside her. "Assets." Evelyn nodded slowly. "And?" The manager cleared his throat. "Given your extended absence, he argued that your holdings should be transferred under Montgomery Enterprises." Noah let out a low curse, but Evelyn didn't flinch. She had expected this. "Can he do that?" Noah asked, crossing his arms. The manager hesitated. "Legally, no. But if you don't return to the company..." He could make it difficult for you to retain control. Evelyn exhaled slowly. Of course. James didn't need to steal anything outright. He just needed to make her life so complicated that giving in seemed easier than fighting back. She turned to the manager. Transfer everything into a private trust, effective immediately. The man nodded quickly. Understood. Noah watched as Evelyn signed the necessary paperwork, her hands steady, unwavering. She wasn't running anymore. And James, he wasn't going to win this time. As they left the bank, the sound of footsteps on pavement made Noah instinctively step closer to Evelyn. He turned and saw a woman watching them from across the street. She was older, her silver hair pulled back neatly, her sharp eyes assessing. Evelyn stiffened beside him. "Evelyn!" the woman called, stepping forward. Noah could feel Evelyn's hesitation, the way she inhaled sharply as if bracing for something she hadn't planned on facing today. "Mrs. Callahan," Evelyn finally acknowledged. Noah could tell from her tone. This woman wasn't a stranger. She smiled faintly. "You look just like your mother." Evelyn swallowed, something raw and unspoken flickering across her face. Noah stayed quiet, letting Evelyn handle this, but he didn't move away. "I didn't expect to see you here," Evelyn admitted. "I imagine you didn't," Mrs. Callahan replied, studying her carefully. "James came to see me, you know." Evelyn's jaw clenched. "I'm sure he did," the older woman sighed. "He's worried about you." Evelyn let out a bitter laugh. "James doesn't worry. He strategizes." Mrs. Callahan didn't argue. Instead, she looked at Evelyn with something almost maternal. "You don't have to fight him alone," she said softly. Evelyn hesitated, and Noah. For the first time, he wondered if she even realized how many people were still on her side. Ted, drive back to the cabin was quieter than before, not tense, but thoughtful. Noah could see it. The way Evelyn's fingers tapped lightly against her knee, the way she stared out at the trees like she was seeing something different now. And maybe she was. When they pulled into the driveway, she turned to him. "Thank you," she said. Noah gave her a small nod. "You gonna tell me what you're planning?" Evelyn smirked, a glint of something almost defiant in her eyes. "Oh, I'm done running." Noah leaned against the steering wheel, watching her closely. "You ready for whatever comes next?" he asked. Evelyn exhaled, glancing back at the cabin, the place she had once feared returning to. Then she looked at Noah, and for the first time in a long time, she felt ready. "I think I am," she said, and for the first time, she believed it. Evelyn Montgomery had spent years running from the expectations placed on her, running from the guilt that had shadowed her since her mother's death, running from a life that never felt like her own. But now, as she stood in the doorway of Emerald Lake Cabin, watching the golden glow of dawn spill across the still water, she felt something she hadn't in a long time. She wasn't running anymore. The morning air was crisp, carrying the faint scent of damp pine and fresh earth. Noah Carter was already outside, inspecting the newly reinforced porch steps. He didn't look up when he spoke. "You were up early." Evelyn stepped onto the porch, wrapping her arms around herself. "Couldn't sleep." Noah nodded, as if he understood exactly why, and maybe he did. After all, he knew what it was like to wake up with the weight of the past pressing against your chest. He wiped his hands on his jeans, finally turning to face her. "So, what's the plan?" Evelyn exhaled. "I need to talk to James, set the record straight." Noah studied her for a moment before nodding. "You sure you're ready for that?" "Yes." Her voice was steady, unwavering. "It's time. I stopped letting him decide my future." Noah's lips quirked slightly. "About damn time." For some reason that made her smile. The drive to Willow Springs felt different this time. She wasn't running. She wasn't hiding. She was walking straight into the fire. Noah was beside her, his presence quiet but grounding, a silent promise that whatever happened, She wouldn't face it alone. By the time they reached the Montgomery Enterprises office, the weight in her chest had settled into something else. Determination. She wasn't just going to fight for control of her assets. She was going to take back control of her life. James was waiting. The moment Evelyn stepped into his pristine corner office, she knew he had been expecting her. He leaned back in his leather chair, fingers steepled in front of him. "I wondered how long it would take for you to come." Evelyn closed the door behind her. "Cut the theatrics, James. We both know why I'm here." A smirk tugged at the corner of his mouth, but it didn't reach his eyes. "All right then, let's talk." She sat across from him, keeping her posture firm but composed. "I'm not selling. Not to you, not to anyone." James tilted his head. "Evelyn, no," she cut him off. "You don't get to make decisions for me anymore." Something flickered across his face. Annoyance? Surprise? Maybe both. "I'm not trying to make decisions for you," he said, voice carefully measured. "I'm trying to save you from making a mistake." Evelyn scoffed. "Funny. That's what you said when I walked away from the company, when I left the city, when I chose to live my life on my own terms." James leaned forward. "Do you really think living in that cabin, playing house with a small-town carpenter is going to fix anything?" Evelyn's jaw clenched, but she didn't let him get to her. Noah wasn't the issue here. This was about control, about choice, and for the first time she wasn't going to let James dictate hers. She leveled him with a steady gaze. "This isn't about the cabin. It's not about Noah. It's about me, and I'm done letting you decide what my life should look like." James was silent for a long moment, then he sighed, rubbing his temple. "You've always been stubborn." Evelyn arched a brow. "Took you this long to figure that out?" That earned a short, humorless chuckle from him. "So, what now? I'll keep my assets in a private trust. I'll manage my own investments, and you will stay out of it." James exhaled, leaning back. "And if I don't?" Evelyn met his gaze without hesitation. "Then I will make your life just as difficult as you're trying to make mine." For the first time, realization dawned in James's eyes. She wasn't just threatening to fight back. She already had, and she wasn't afraid anymore. By the time Evelyn left the office, the weight on her shoulders felt lighter. She had done it. She had faced James, stood her ground, and won. As she stepped onto the street, she found Noah waiting by the truck, arms crossed. He didn't ask how it went. He didn't need to. Instead, he studied her face for a long moment before saying, "You look different." Evelyn tilted her head. "Different how?" He gave a small shrug, like someone who finally knows where she's supposed to be. She let his words sink in, then smiled softly. Because he was right. She did know, and for the first time in years, she wasn't afraid of what came next. As they drove back toward Emerald Lake, Evelyn rolled the window down, letting the wind whip through. Her hair, Noah glanced at her. "So what now?" She took a deep breath, looking out at the trees, the mountains, the lake that had once been a place of pain, but was now becoming something else entirely. "I start over," she said simply. Noah nodded. "Not a bad plan." Evelyn turned to him, her smile genuine. "Not bad at all," and as the cabin came into view, bathed in the warm glow of the setting sun, she knew she had finally found her way back home. The sun dipped below the mountains, casting a golden glow over Emerald Lake, the water shimmering as if reflecting the quiet peace settling in Evelyn Montgomery's heart. She had fought her battle, and won. For the first time in years, she felt free, not just from the expectations of her past, but from the fear that had kept her from embracing her future. And home. It wasn't just a place, it was a feeling, and she was finally feeling it again. 2 weeks had passed since her final conversation with James, and Evelyn had spent every moment making good on her promise to herself. She had officially taken ownership of her inheritance, ensuring that James had no control over her finances, no power over her future. She had also invested in the town, supporting local businesses, funding renovations for the community center, and hiring workers to help Noah finish the cabin restoration. Noah had grumbled something about not needing the extra hands, but she saw the way he relaxed just a little, knowing he didn't have to do it all alone. And Lily? She had taken to Evelyn like they had known each other for years. "Dad says you used to live in the city," Lily said one afternoon, sitting on the newly repaired porch steps, swinging her legs. "I did," Evelyn admitted, sipping her tea. "Did you like it?" Evelyn hesitated, then smiled. "I thought I did, but sometimes you don't realize what you're missing until you leave it behind." Lily nodded sagely, as if she understood exactly what Evelyn meant, like when you lose a toy and don't know how much you love it until it's gone. Evelyn chuckled. "Something like that." The little girl grinned. "I think you belong here more than in the city." Evelyn's chest tightened, because for the first time she believed that too. That weekend, the town gathered for the annual Harvest Festival, a tradition Evelyn remembered from childhood but hadn't attended in years. String lights twinkled above the town square. Booths lined the streets selling homemade pies, warm apple cider, and handcrafted trinkets. Music played, laughter filled the air, and Evelyn felt completely, undeniably present. Noah was helping set up the bonfire, rolling up his sleeves, lifting heavy logs with ease. Evelyn watched him for a moment, a smile tugging at her lips. "You know," she mused as she approached, "for a man who complains about extra work, you sure like lifting things you don't have to." Noah glanced at her, smirking. "Guess I just like keeping busy." Evelyn crossed her arms. "Or maybe you just like showing off." His smirk deepened. "Is it working?" Her laugh was warm, genuine, maybe a little. Before Noah could respond, Lily came running over, breathless with excitement. "They're about to start the lantern. Release?" Evelyn blinked. "Lantern release?" Lily nodded enthusiastically, pointing toward the lake, where people were gathering with small, floating lanterns. "We make a wish and send it into the sky." Evelyn's breath caught in her throat. She remembered this. She had done it with her parents as a child, standing by the lake, their hands clasped together as they whispered wishes into the night. Her mother's laughter had echoed in the air. Her father's hand had been steady on her shoulder, and now, standing beside Noah and Lily, feeling something she hadn't felt in years, she realized she had found something she thought she had lost forever, a family. The three of them walked to the lake's edge, each carrying a small lantern. Evelyn hesitated, running her fingers along the smooth paper. Noah nudged her, gently. "You okay?" She nodded, swallowing past the lump in her throat. "Just remembering." Noah didn't ask for details. He just stood beside her, steady and solid, giving her the space to feel whatever she needed to feel. Lily was the first to release her lantern, watching with wide eyes as it floated upward. "I wished for Barney to stop eating my shoes," Noah laughed. "Good luck with that one, kid." Evelyn's smile softened as she turned to Noah. "What about you?" He shrugged, releasing his lantern without hesitation. "Didn't have to. Wish for anything. I already have everything I need." Evelyn's heart skipped a beat, then slowly she let go of her own lantern. She didn't wish for escape. She didn't wish for clarity. She wished for exactly what was already in front of her. Later that evening, after the festival had wound down, the last few people remained in the town square, swaying to the music under the string lights. Evelyn watched them, feeling content in a way she never had before. Noah appeared beside her, hands in his pockets. "You're staring," she smirked. "Maybe I'm just taking it all in." Noah glanced at her, his expression softening. Then, before she could say anything else, he held out his hand. "Dance with me." Evelyn hesitated. I don't... Just this once, he murmured. No expectations, no running, just be here. She exhaled slowly, and then she took his hand. He pulled her into a slow, easy rhythm, guiding her like they'd done this 100 times before. The town faded away. The noise blurred into the background, and in that moment, Evelyn knew she was exactly where she was meant to be. Noah pulled her closer, his voice low. So, you think you'll stick around? Evelyn met his gaze, her heart beating steady and sure. I think I've finally found my way home. And when he kissed her, under the glow of the string lights and the gentle hum of a town that had welcomed her back, Evelyn knew she had never been happier. Wow, what a journey! Evelyn and Noah's story has taken us through heartbreak, healing, and the power of finding home in the most unexpected places. But now, I'd love to hear from you. Tell me, where are you watching from? Drop a comment below and let me know. Are you from a small town like Willow Springs, or do you live in a big city like the one Evelyn left behind? Let's chat in the comments. If you enjoyed this story and want to see more heartfelt, inspiring stories like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. And most importantly, thank you for being here. Your support, your time, and your love for storytelling mean the world. Can't wait to see you in the next one. Until next time, keep believing in second chances